Hey everybody, Tom Cassidy here. I'm here with Sam Brown. We're talking, this is the Reasonable Wealth Project. We're talking in particular about I don't know what, because it's up to Sam to decide today. We're doing a one-to-one based on what he's kind of interested in creating for himself. So Sam, this is really, most of the time, you're kind of sort of helping me do question and answers, and we're talking about various aspects of the thinking and how to explain it better. And this is going to be a little different, isn't it? What are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah, and thank you as usual, Tom. I really appreciate your time this evening to chat. And yeah, I feel it's a little strange being in the hot seat. I'm usually a little bit more behind the scenes, but I definitely wanted to throw some ideas out and just have a conversation with you about something that's coalesced over the past 10 days or so, and get your feedback and reach out to anybody else that wanted to have feedback on this as well, because one of a little bit of background. A year or so ago, before I even met Tom, I really had this realization that I wanted to move from being a content consumer and move to being a content creator, because guys, I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on every personal development course, tapes, videos, courses, all kinds of stuff. And around this time last year, I had my grand vision, which is what connected Tom and I. That's not really the focus of this. We may get into that later. But so basically, I started noticing a lot of the people that I was paying attention to in the app world went from creating a lot of apps to creating courses of how to create apps. And I started kind of doing the math, and I'm like, man, these guys are making more money off of selling content to people like myself than they are actually off of their own businesses of creating apps. And I was just like, man, it would be so cool to be in a position where I could create a helpful course and also create passive income for myself. Because as many of you know, I have a day job that is absolutely perfect for its time. I love my job. I love the people I work with. But I really feel drawn to where I want to move beyond the confines of a resume and a job and a career, and just kind of spend the rest of my life just seeking the unknown. I want to travel the universe in my mind and come back and tell people about it. And so,
Awesome.
fast forward, when I found the Science of Getting Rich course, of course I was like, oh, this is awesome! I can't believe it. And I started asking questions of Tom, and eventually I landed on a one-on-one. Which, by the way, Tom, I still have the audio recording of that. I listened to it a little while ago. It was like, who is this person speaking to Tom? But it was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you was to talk about your Udemy success, because one of my own goals in my life is to be able to set up some sort of passive income for myself that can replace my current income, to where I can move full time into focusing on the grander visions for the project that we're working on. And so for the longest time, I was like, well, actually, before I realized that you and Angela were doing a Science of Being Great course, I was like, well, maybe I'll do that one, because someone's already done the Science of Getting Rich. And yes, I love that book, but there's other great stuff out there. And then I kind of went through the rigmarole as like, well, I've got a bunch of technical skills. I mean, I can do web development. I can do all this video editing and all this other kind of stuff that I've spent years and years doing. Maybe I'll teach some of that. And it just kind of felt hollow. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of lame. I don't know if I want to do that. And so very recently, and I believe you sent this screenshot out, but you had a screenshot of all of your Udemy courses. And you've been doing Udemy courses for like over 3 years now. But it's like...
no, May 2012.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
couple years.
Yeah.
Anyways, to the point where you've created some stuff in the past that is still making you money today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's a beautiful thing. Now, everybody always knows, like, passive income is one of those things that I believe kind of gets an interesting rap, where everyone thinks that's the end-all, be-all. Now, I don't mean that I want to create stuff and then just go sit on the beach and never work again. Like, I don't ever see myself retiring. The stuff that Tom, you and I have been doing, and everyone's kind of contributing to in the WhatsApp groups and all that, I want to spend every last single day on earth doing that kind of stuff. So the goal is to still be active, But for me, it's about to where, so here at work, I come in I get paid for 8 hours of work and my production output. I want to disassociate my direct input on things with how much money I'm earning. And of course, that's one of the reasons why I've been really captured and fascinated by creating apps and doing all this kind of stuff. Anyways, the app conversation is a conversation for another day, because we could spend 6 weeks on that. But the so recently, and guys, this really brings home the power of questions, where your mind is in touch with the mind that knows all. And if you begin to ask yourself questions with sincerity and with intent, you will receive answers. And one of the questions that has been floating around in my mind since you sent that image out, because when you sent that image out, it reinvigorated the passion in myself to create something specifically for Udemy. Now, I'm not a personal coach. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm just a regular dude sitting in Tallahassee. Now, I've been consuming personal development content for over a decade, so I feel like I've got a good handle on the stuff, but I really didn't see myself as a life coach as a career. Like, we have a lot of people in the architects group and in reasonable coaching that this is kind of what they do or what they want to do, and I think that's awesome. Specifically, I'm there because I do have a client, and it's me. I want to get really good at coaching myself to be the best that I can. And so when I saw that grid of things, and you can do some math. Now, some of those were joint ventures and stuff, but you can do the math on those things, and the numbers are really quite, salivating. It gets me excited on that kind of stuff because, again, I really feel like I wanted to start doing this stuff full time. But being father of a young boy with a family and stuff like that, it's just not reasonable to just jump out and start doing stuff. I mean, I think that I've actually done that before, and it's not fun. It's really stressful.
Yeah, no need to do it like that.
Sure. So anyways, one of the question I kept asking myself was, what is a Udemy course that I can create that will generate enough value for the users that take the course to allow me to replace my income and go do this stuff with Tom full time? I mean, full out, every day, as much as I want and as much as I can contribute. And the more I thought about it, the more answers started to come. And it really coalesced for me literally over the past about 10 days. And it's this concept that I alluded to a little bit in a couple of hangouts, but it was kind of tongue-in-cheek for myself. But it's this concept of metaphysics 101. And I was never ever taught metaphysics. I grew up in a church. I learned about God. I learned about this kind of stuff, but I certainly never learned about in any of my schooling how to apply metaphysical techniques to my life to benefit myself and to benefit others, really. And so the more I thought about that, the more I thought about I'd like to create. So right now in the U.S., there's certainly, especially with the Gen Xers, there's this big extreme fitness movement. I mean, you got people that do P90X, you got people that do CrossFit, but
yeah.
all of these young people, and again, I think this is the evolution of our society, but whereas in the 80s, there wasn't that many people that were that fit. Nowadays, there's a college campus here in town. You go to college campus, 8 out of 10 of those people are extremely fit. I mean, six-pack, whole 9 yards kind of thing. And so it's so in vogue to be physically fit. And yet these are the individuals that are going to spend the majority of their lives hypnotized by a culture not knowing the abject amazement of their own existence. And so I thought, how cool would it be to have a Flex Your Metaphysical Muscles course where I want to target Gen Xers, really everybody, but specifically kind of the younger demo, not teenagers, maybe the 25 to 45-year-old age group where they may not have heard about metaphysical things like belief and love and just the landscape of the metaphysical kind of plane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking to myself, and I thought it'd be really cool to offer a course which is kind of geared towards a physical fitness. It's branded for physical fitness, but I'm really putting in the Trojan horse of the metaphysical stuff because. And Tom, I think one of the reasons why I was inspired by your ability to really attack eating, which is such a huge, huge aspect of every single person's lives. But one of the ancillary benefits is that you raise your awareness, and once that happens, there's no looking back. And so for me, I thought it would be really cool to create a course where it's like Metaphysics 101, kind of flex your metaphysical muscles. Start the course with kind of, and another thing is what's happened over the past 2 months is this program, the Reasonable Wealth program and the Reasonable Coaching program, has given me the opportunity to be on camera a little bit. I've never done that before in my entire life. And I find that it really juices me, man. I love it. I love it, and I feel like I can feel myself communicating this stuff effectively. And so I was like, well, what if I were to do a Udemy course that's like a Metaphysics 101? It's a lay of the land, and then go into some ways of applying those metaphysical aspects. For example, in your career, in your relationships, in your physical health, and then, of course, in your spirituality. And so that's kind of the gist behind it. I have no idea in terms of, I haven't really scoped out the chapters. I basically just kind of have a vision for it. I think it would be branded, it would come across as a little bit, so from a marketing perspective, it would kind of be sold as like flex your metaphysical muscles, because what I want to do is all of these people who are out there who are completely on board with exercising their physical bodies to the point where I don't really believe there's been a time in history where so many people have been so focused on getting their physical body right, and yet they're ignoring 50% of their being by not really getting their metaphysical part right. And you know, Tom, we were chatting this morning on WhatsApp, and I was just like, you know, I think that the metaphysical aspect of it is really underserved, because you're not taught this stuff, especially in the West, especially from my background, you know, being raised in America. I've never even come across half this stuff. And so it took me a long time to realize how important this is in your life, and how amazing just the juice that you can squeeze from life when you're really working with all of your resources. So I kind of want to brand it a little bit young, a little edgy, a little bit like kind of parlaying on that physical aspect, and then kind of work people in. And the way I think I would do it was I would start out very light on the esoteric stuff and just really focus on, for example, how metaphysical artifacts can benefit your personal relationships, your health, your career, and then of course your relationship with spirit. And then towards the end, I would get into what Tom likes to call into the rabbit hole, which, be honest with you guys, man, I've spent the past few weeks, I found the bottom of the rabbit's hole. And I'm back to report this kind of stuff. So maybe even like a Metaphysics 101 class, and then maybe a Metaphysics 201 that goes in. So Waddles does a really awesome job in the science of getting rich without getting too esoteric. There's references to God and the one source, and there's references, but not enough to really turn somebody off, because what I found in my experience is that a lot of pop culture is very anti-religion. And it's not because they don't appreciate God, they're not spiritual, it's just because people feel it's preachy and churchy and this kind of stuff, and it's kind of not cool. I want to make metaphysics cool. I want to have the young people of America, instead of worshiping these pop stars or these people who are famous for no reason other than being shoved on television 8 hours a week. I want to find the people who start celebrating some of the inside. You know what I mean? And I really do. And Tom, I'll go ahead and reveal some of our ancillary goals for our life's work. But I want people to be so fascinated by themselves they just stop watching television. There's just nothing really interesting for me there. You know, it's funny, one of the people suggested on WhatsApp today that after they get done with Facebook, they kind of felt kind of blah. Guys, I have never, ever had a Facebook account, and I can guarantee you I never will. I can't imagine. You know, TV used to be the biggest waste of time on the planet. It's now number 2. Guess what number 1 is? And here's the other thing. After you scroll through your Facebook wall and stuff like that, does that make you feel better or make you feel worse? I would go, and there's tons of research to back this up, but for me, any amount of comparison is automatically from the script. And one thing that Facebook is, it's like this fake marketing thing where everybody wants to put out there that they're having the best life possible, and it's like this, it's plastic, rock and roll, good times, candy apple, fake stuff.
Yeah.
I see a world where people start really waking up to their own powers, and I want to leverage the desire that's innate in human beings to be better, because every single person on the planet within the sound of my voice who will ever be in existence wants better. There's no getting around that. That's your soul seeking growth. And so people express that in different ways. Some people express it by developing their minds and getting PhDs and being super smart. And some people express it in developing their bodies and having, a six pack and just being totally ripped. And some people, I want to see people begin to express it by just really finding the inner peace and joy that is in every single one of us, latent. So yeah, that's kind of the larger vision is to change the world. The smaller vision is to create some, and you know what, I haven't even done any competitive research. In my background in apps, I've spent so much time researching what everyone else is doing to see if my idea would work, and it usually ends up making me feel like crap and realizing the script, it just has a field day with that stuff. So I'm not doing any kind of that stuff. I'm just going to put it out there. So I don't even know if there's anything like that on Udemy or anywhere else. And certainly if anybody within the sound of my voice thinks they want to do something like this, I would say definitely run with it, because what I've learned over this brief experience is that on the competitive plane, on the creative plane, there is absolutely no competition. And there is, even if, Tom, if you and I were to do the exact same thing, it would come across completely differently, because we have a different spiritual DNA. So that's the way it works. And so, long story short, long term, I want to change the world. Short term, I want to provide the people with just a metaphysical 101, which is kind of a lay of the land, review the tools that there are. And again, I don't really know all of this. I use this in my life, but what would that look like? And then just kind of give them some, for example, if you were to do a course like a fitness course, well, there's going to be daily exercises that you do, whether it be, okay, do 20 push-ups. And then when I kind of brand this as a physical analogy, I would give people exercises to do. For example, for one 15-minute period, hold one thought in your mind. And so it's like a metaphysical sit-up. It's hard to do, man. And this is one of the things that I do for myself, but if your mind, the one thing you can't do is stop thinking, and your mind is like a flowing river. And what you'll find is that if you haven't really worked on your awareness, it's very difficult to keep that mind centered on what you want to do. And so if you spend 15 minutes a day focusing on one thought, whatever it would be, whatever it is, maybe even like a small mantra, you're gonna train that muscle, because just like our physical muscles, our metaphysical muscles could be atrophied, and once you start working them, you can become a metaphysical athlete. And so that's kind of the gist of the course. And again, my end game for it would be to create something where I can begin to contribute back to this program. It fits in with everything that we're doing. Tom, we have some app stuff going on, and that's obviously priority number one. But it would be really cool, I think, to be able to contribute in a way to where when you are on the stages of the world, I can have something to help offer that. And so by doing that, it would allow you to establish some sort of a kind of a professional expertise or whatever, but it'll also allow you to begin to earn some passive income, which would allow me to really move into doing this stuff full time. So,
okay,
that's probably way more than you bargained for, but that's what it is.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, it will take a little while to sort of get the vision down to some sort of next actions. But the general feeling was, I would always say, is work out why you think that this would be a good idea for you, and when you know what you want to achieve from it, it will determine sort of how you do it. See, I wasn't looking for any income from Udemy, so I decided to tackle an area that wasn't probably going to be very profitable, really, in theory. If I'd wanted to make money off something, I would have gone for I would have gone for something that directly teaches people a skill that then will enable them to raise money out of knowing that. So okay, so that's what I would do. Now you can, with the metaphysical things, you probably can say that, but I suppose, well, you could argue that the career stuff that I'd done was actually leaning towards getting people a better job, so therefore more money, absolutely. But when Udemy first came out, it was all about programming. It was basically very much a tech place. There was a little bit of general business, but a lot of it was about developing. It wasn't apps then so much.
Yeah.
It was like coding and websites and website design and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously so essentially the technology side of things was massive. And I think the thinking was that people would pay a lot for courses where they genuinely saw that they could then have a qualification, a skill that would generate them more money.
Right.
Okay, so first of all, that would be an important thing. I mean, but that follows as a result of what you want out of it, and I think that you want two things. Basically, you want to build a platform for your credibility. Well, maybe three things. You want to position yourself as the leading authority on metaphysical artifacts, or a leading authority in the use of metaphysics in the world. That would be a good. There aren't many people that are positioning themselves in that particular domain, so you could easily become the number one in the world in that. That'd be relatively straightforward. But you want to also give yourself the ability to receive an income which would replace ultimately the fact that you're having to sell your time at the moment. So that's clear. So those two things, and obviously you have a bigger picture, which is that you see yourself on the stages of the world directly, actually talking to people and getting up there. You're very good at that, Sam. You're great at being on camera. You're really good at getting on. Well, I don't know you actually getting on stage, but I can already see you on stages, actually getting people fired up about specific things they can do. And I think that your background with health and fitness, and certainly your understanding of the the kind of the whole concept of marginal gains and all this sort of stuff would lead you to design a program that was exactly perfect for getting this approach out to a huge raft of people that I could never get to. That there's some people within the sort of 25 to 35, 25 to 40 era of their life are going to chime with somebody who's like uber fit and has got a system which is very programmatic and is just leveraging what they already know. And they already understand programs for getting the body fit. They already understand gyms and CrossFit and all that sort of stuff. Well, fantastic. This is like CrossFit for the mind, or whatever. And I think that would be a brilliant angle. And so I suppose when it comes to it, it's like what I would say is, stepping back a stage even further, is like solve the hardest problem that you feel equipped to be able to solve for people, and that will give you the most reward. I did this with one of the guys when I was doing a one-to-one session. It's like, what is it that you can do that the fewest other number of people that can do, that is also valuable to individuals?
Yeah.
So the hardest problem that you can solve, but that no one else is solving, or that the smallest group of other people is solving, because that will just make it. I mean, it's not about whether it's the competitive or the creative plane, because we don't believe in that. We believe in the creative plane entirely. But if you decide that you are going to go after an area that's got hundreds of thousands of people who are similarly qualified, even though you're not seeing it as anything other than working on the creative plane, it'll just take longer. All those sorts of things. And basically the value that you have is the reality of it. You only have value. Value is in the eye of the beholder. So you only have the value that other people think you have. You don't have the value that you think you have.
Right.
the way the universe works, right? So
Right.
just the fact that you might think that you've got value. Well, actually, if there's 100,000 people who've got that same level of ability, then you don't have as much value to the world as if there were only 10 people who had that skill.
Right.
So for a start, it doesn't matter who else has got it, but it would be an idea for you to say, what is the hardest problem that I can solve that I feel qualified or capable of either being able to solve right now for people or being able to grow into someone who could become the leading or a leading authority on this. And I think that the thing you've chosen satisfies those criteria quite nicely.
Yeah, and my script goes crazy. I don't necessarily want to be a leading. I don't know, man. It's a subset of my larger vision. It's a way for it was one of the things that I was looking to leverage what I've really begun to put into practice for the most part over the past year or so, and kind of get myself into a position where I could do this full time and then work on the bigger stuff, because obviously we have some ideas for reach, and one of the thing that brought us together was creating an app that gets in front of 100 million people plus. And I think that that to me is the big picture, but I think it would be cool to have some little steps along the way that allow me to leverage some of the stuff that I'm doing and give value. But I see what you're saying, and when you put it in that perspective, it gets a little bit more. I don't have the clarity I really need to go on that. So right now, it's just kind of this unformed desire to really get other people as excited about this stuff as I am, because I know the impact that it's had on my life personally. Even coming from a background of a man studying personal development for over a decade, done it. I've bought all the books, listened to all the tapes, listened to all the CDs. But it's only been over the past, it's only been since really meeting you that I've begun to really see this stuff really flourish in my life. And I do believe it's because of the awareness that a lot of the big three brings in terms of the script and what would you choose in the sausage machine. So that's just kind of the thinking that's been going around. But it's been one of those thoughts, and you probably have this all the time too, where you'll have this desire, and when you think of it, it excites you. It's just like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Oh, that would be interesting. And so it's like this exciting. It's almost like a siren song. It's like this thing I want to think about a lot because it jazzes me.
Well, on that, I think you should do, and this might be a bit challenging from the script, but I genuinely think you should do the thing. If you can think of something that is the most amazing thing that you would want to do, then that's what you should do.
Right.
You shouldn't be in a position where you're saying, well, yeah, what I would like to do is I'd like to do X first in order to set it up so that I can do the more interesting thing, the more amazing thing, Y later.
Yeah. No, I totally vibe on that. I totally understand that.
I mean, there's absolutely no reason why doing a metaphysical series isn't amazing, isn't brilliant, and wouldn't be fantastic. And not only is it extremely needed, it would be a great way to get people to start using some of these skills in their lives and get more into the bigger thing. But if you can already think of something that you want to do that is more cool or more amazing, then the universe will provide for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean I know that. I mean I definitely understand that, and I've seen it. I've seen it in action, man. I've seen you do your thing, and I've sat in the sidecar of Genius and watched it. You drive down the road, so I've seen it firsthand. So I know that, and so that's what's interesting is I'm an analytical person, so I guess I compartmentalize things like maybe this is a subset of this, of that, but I see what you're saying. It's much more of a cohesive whole. I mean, I believe my overarching aim is still what it was, back in January of 2012 when I first had the initial thought, and then the thing that brought you and I together. You know, that certainly hasn't changed. It's just, you know, it's I don't know, man. Is this one of those little shiny objects on the road to getting where I want to go that I need to kind of like not pay attention to, or is it part of the whole cohesive?
Yeah, I mean, only you can possibly say that. I
Right,
mean,
right.
we,
I
we,
kind of
you're
rhetorically asking that question out loud is what it, you know, what kind of sense is that? Because I really feel like, you know, desires that innately come that are, you know, your desires are they're they're a seat of power. They're a seat of power. So
absolutely, and I know that you know anyway, and it's good for you to think, okay, this is, again, it's always, you're either, we talked about this before the call went live, but essentially you should only really, everything you are doing is an action. Everything is an action, right? There is a metaphysical action and there is a physical action. That's all there is. So the metaphysical action that you're doing is deliberately thinking about the ultimate vision you want to create, and the physical action you're doing is doing the stuff that is then clear as a result of the metaphysical action. So I would say that, again, just if it feels, because the feeling is like the barometer of whether it really is true or not. You know, if it's genuinely your intuition, it just feels right. When you get total clarity, it just all happens. It might be that you are doing something which is absolutely perfect. This idea of this course, this series of course, might be absolutely perfect for you. It might be exactly, because in your vision, you don't just want to be the guy that creates the most amazing app in the world, like the Greater Life for All app, and that reaches 100 million people in, you know, a year or something ridiculous like that, and measurably with metrics actually changes the world. You don't just want to do that. You want to do other things as well. You know, you want to be I play the piano.
yeah,
I'm a father. These are all things. These are all. There is no either or. You know, the universe isn't about compartments that you actually have to sit in. You know, like as I talk about often. You know, there is no such thing as an insect. And people still it blows their mind when I say that to people, and they say, well, what do you mean? And you say, well, no, the universe doesn't deal with things in the same way as we do. There is the universe, and that is it. There are the eternal principles that guide the behavior of the totality of the universe, but that's all there is. These things are all entirely interconnected, and you and how you exist and how you work with people and how you love and all these things, it's you, it's all you. It might well be that you doing these courses is a brilliant thing that's part of the synergetic whole of what you can contribute. It might be that actually you don't need to do those courses because they're coming from a slightly lack of faith that if you really did want to do the thing that was most exciting to you, there would be income coming from that in the same sort of time frame.
Yeah, totally.
So kind of like spinning back a little bit, again we can quote Buckminster Fuller and say, look, set out to make sense, don't set out to make money. And if you set out to make the most sense, it might just be that it's exactly the one that you've already thought of doing, right? Set out to make the most sense for you, given the range of natural resources, given the totality of your physical resources and your metaphysical resources, doing what makes the most sense for you. And that's kind of the question that you will have explained to you when you as you think about it.
Yeah, good stuff, man. It's this stuff is awesome. It's never lacks for an interesting discussion and or with you or myself. So I really appreciate your insight on some of that stuff. And again, it's an evolving process. So it's those are some interesting questions I'll have to meditate on.
Yeah, and again, it's always like, this is always the thing. So if you would choose for them to be like great questions and the ones that excite you, if those questions and coming up with those answers really excites you, fantastic. If those questions are ones you say, no, I know exactly what I want, these are just a distraction, then fine. And you'll find out by knowing whether you without groping for things, whether you've got an answer to them. If you don't have to think about it to come up with an answer, then you know that you're doing the right thing, right? If you have to think about whether it's like if you have to think about whether you need more food or not, you don't need more food. If you have to think about whether it's time to do your exercise or not, you don't. It is time to do your exercise. Oh, I lost you for a second. You back?
Yep, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I don't know what you heard, but I was just saying, when you start asking yourself a question, like, you're eating some food and you say, well, should I have more? Or no, that's the point at which when you're not sure, that's the point where you know the answer. You actually know the answer. Like, if you're thinking, oh well, if the idea comes to you to do like 20 press-ups or something like that, and then you say, well, should I do it now or should I do it later? You've already lost. The idea was right. It was right. It was time to do 20 press-ups then. So if you've got a definite answer to these questions, then you'll know what to do. If you don't, then it means you just have to do more thinking. That's all.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's exciting though, because for me, there's nothing better than someone who has got a really, really burning vision that is just and super excited, but they're not putting themselves under any pressure whatsoever to complete it. It's just like, yeah, it'll happen the way it's meant to happen. I'm going to be doing the work, but I don't need to agonize over the how when it's obvious to me. And you might already be there. You might have done enough contemplation to say, yeah, this is exactly right for me. And only you knows that. Only you know that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really powerful point that I've again seen. I've just had the real privilege of seeing that in action, because for the longest time the how to really was a sticking point, because you try to, our job is just to arrange whatever this reality is into what we want, and let itself work out. So I am 100% on board with that right there.
Okay, right.
Cool. Well, I think I think we got to the bottom of it. That was it was just kind of this thing I've been kicking around, and I really appreciate your feedback. I also appreciate the fact about what you mentioned about Udemy is you didn't really approach that. It was almost more of a, well, I'm going to put this stuff out there and kind of see what happens, because maybe I was approaching it from a competitive mindset of looking to so for a question for myself, am I putting any ounce of dissatisfaction into my sausage machine at this point? And that's something I'm really, really leery of, because you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I spent 2010, 2012, man, I spent like 2.5 years of just putting crap in my sausage machine of dissatisfaction, and it just made my life miserable. So I definitely want to avoid that, because but it's different. It's totally different now, because I can honestly say that I live such a blissed out life, man. Yeah. It's because of
Oh, we lost Sam again. Okay, and he's probably going to say it's because of this awareness that he's got now. Anyway, I think we'll leave him about another 30 seconds to see if he's going to come back. But the thing that I was saying about Udemy inspires me to think that I should do another hangout on the mechanics of Udemy, so people can understand how that works and what you should be looking to do, and kind of the ratio of the paid courses that you've got to your free courses, and that's going to be different depending on whether you've got the vision that I've got for myself, or whether you've got a different vision, and only you as individuals will know that. So okay, I'm going to wrap up now, and thanks. I'm going to thank Sam in his absence, and just letting you know that it still is live, Oh, and he's back. Are you back a little bit there?
Dang! How long has it been off? I've been on like a genius tirade for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, he's gone again. Oh, no. Well, that's slightly frustrating. I see what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock it on the head now, and then we'll catch up. We might have to do another one. Okay.